Hello, my name is Chris Wakely, and today I'm going to give you a speech on why you should want GMOs labeled on your food in supermarkets. Here's my audience. Did you know that 90% of the world's genetically engineered crops are produced by only 5 countries? Argentina, India, Canada, and the United States. Did you also know that science has not yet determined whether genetically modified foods are harmful to you or me, and we will not know for many years? You, as a consumer, should want the FDA to change its policy on labeling foods that contain genetically modified organisms for your health, your consumer rights, and environmental safety reasons. Labeling our food is something that will help people make better and informed choices on what is going into their body. It is almost impossible to avoid these foods altogether, even if you wanted to. According to the largest GMO supplier, Monsanto's website, GMOs are described as these: plants or animals that have had their genetic makeup altered to exhibit traits that are not naturally theirs. Although at the time animals are not currently genetically engineered, there is a salmon that is up for pending patenting with the FDA and will be the first genetically modified animal on shelves if it goes through. You might think that if you avoid genetically modified plants, then you will be safe and avoid any future risks that might affect your body once the science is in. Well, you would be wrong. Almost all livestock here in the U.S. is grown on genetically modified crops. Here are the top genetically engineered crops in the United States: corn, soybeans, canola, cotton, sugar beets, alfalfa, Hawaiian papaya, zucchini, and yellow squash. Corn and soy being one of those, it is in most feed bags for animals and livestock. Thus, the GMOs are in their bodies, and if you consume them, they're in your bodies. Now that you know how hard it is to avoid these foods affecting you in some way or another, let me show you how the United States stacks up against the rest of the world on the issue of giving consumers the right to know what's in their food. We already talked about how it contributes to 90% of the world's genetically engineered crops. As of right now, the United States has no laws requiring the labeling of genetically modified foods. According to justlabelIt.org, 15 nations in the European Union, Japan, Australia, Brazil, Russia, and even China all have laws making labeling mandatory on their foods. This is a shocking notion considering that a Mellman Group survey showed a 93% of Democrats, 90% of independents, and 89% of Republicans are in favor of labeling. This was a survey done with 1,000 voters. As you can see, it's unanimous across the board that people want labeling. One of the biggest debates with making genetically modified foods is not only the effect that it has on the crops and us, but what it does to the environment. Here's exactly what modifying these crops has done to the environment. When the first genetically engineered crops were planted about a decade ago, a lot of scientists warned of weeds and bugs becoming immune to the herbicides that were designed to contain and kill them. These weeds that became resistant are called superweeds today. According to a survey done by the Stratus Agri-Marketing Campaign, 49% of the U.S. farmers reported finding superweeds in their fields in 2012. This has caused even more use of herbicides to control the rampant weeds spreading across this country. A study done by the Environmental Sciences of Europe shows that from 1996 to 2011, the use of genetically enhanced crops increased herbicide use by 527 million pounds. These may all sound like scary truths, but it's a fact that science has not been able to detect if there are any absolute risks to your health through consuming these foods for now. More science needs to be done in order to know what these foods can do to us. The debate could rage on for a whole generation of people growing up consuming these foods before we knew. It is your right to know what is in the food that you purchase when you go into a supermarket. By labeling that a food contains GMOs, you are giving the people the power to make informed choices. To make a change for the better in this ever-changing debate on genetically modified food, you can sign a petition or write a letter to the FDA telling them you deserve this right. If you are curious on how to do this, I can give you the link to the petition from justlabelit.org or the FDA's contact information through email or letter. I hope that you now have some insight into what GMOs are and why it is important for you to have an informed choice on if you are putting them into your bodies and how they affect the environment and us around them. By signing the petition to the FDA or telling your friends and family just what is in the foods they eat and the shocking reality, we will soon have the right to know what we are buying when we walk into a supermarket. Thank you.